Ring Ropes and Turnbuckle Podcast coming up next. We got Buff Daddy in the building with us tonight. Let's go. We about to get the flexing coming up next.
Your mindset heading into Sunday.
We didn't come here to play games. We are the champions.
Yeah.
And nobody is taking these belts from us.
You want the best? You're looking at her. This ain't just a sport, it's a lifestyle. Welcome to the Ring Ropes and Turnbuckle Podcast. We are the champions of wrestling talk.
Coming up next on Ring Ropes and Turnbuckle, we've got a pro wrestling legend in the building. We're chopping it up with Buff Bagwell. Stay tuned. Now, here's your host for Ring Ropes and Turnbuckle Podcast, the insightful Escott Bars, wrestling media in the dynamic salute, Darkwing Dub.
We back. Make sure you like, share, subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell for more content. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
You see him. You see him. Buff Daddy is in the building. Let's give a round of applause. Yeah. What can I say?
Real quick. What kind of memories does that song bring back to you?
So weird you said that. I ain't thought about this one in a long time, but the day I did the voiceovers on that song, the same exact day, I can tell you the day. It was April 22nd, 1998. And the reason I can tell you that is because right after doing those sound bites for that song, I went out in Columbia, South Carolina and broke my neck and was paralyzed on TV.
Wow.
Did you ever see that or know about that?
I didn't know about
that. I don't remember that.
I don't know.
So April 22nd, I mean, you can Google it right now and look at it. April 22nd, 1998, Rick Steiner came off of the Bulldog in Columbia, South Carolina, came off of the Bulldog and misses me. And when he overshoots me, like being the pro wrestler that we are and that I am, I try to catch up to it to make it look like a collision, at least because he had missed me. But when I did, I went right into his back, boom, and my neck went like that way, but it snapped that way. But when all in fast motion, you can't really see what happened. It's just like, boom, there's the Bulldog, and he goes to cover me. What's really happening when you watch it back is I'm talking 1,000 miles an hour, because as soon as he hit me, like, it was probably 5 seconds, but it seemed like a minute or 2 minutes. But I knew I was paralyzed, because I mean, at first it was just like, oh wow, something's bad wrong. And then but no more than it took for Rick Steiner to turn me over to start covering me. When I could see his eyes, I said, I'm paralyzed. And he was like, you don't stop and talk. And there's no cheat sheet on what to do when a guy's really paralyzed in the ring on live TV. Mm-hmm. So I was just going, no, don't touch me, I'm paralyzed. And I'm going crazy, like 1,000 miles an hour. And but the finish of the match was Bulldog. Rick goes to cover me. Scott Steiner slides in, hits Rick with a chair, puts me on top. 1, 2, 3. NWO wins. Boom, paralyzed. I tell him I'm paralyzed. He covers me. Scott hits him with the chair. Scott hears what I'm saying. Instead of moving me, he just lays my arm across Rick. And when he does, my arm just goes and falls back down. So two guys laying back to back. The ref counts 1, 2, 3. Well, who won? Who won the match? You know, so the announcers never used to watch. The announcers didn't know our finishes. They would watch it and call it like they saw it because it was much better if they didn't watch, you know, or didn't know what's happening. They called it like they saw it. So they were like, oh, this must be an NWO thing. But really, what they didn't know is I was really paralyzed, completely 100% immobile, paralyzed in the wrestling ring. And about 7 minutes later, I think if you watch the whole TV thing, they kept the cameras rolling. 7 minutes later, they are getting me on the board. But as I finally start, Lex is crying, Rick Steiner's crying over me. And I say to them, I go, hey man, don't be upset. Don't be upset. I can go visit schools and I really believe right here that by being positive, I really believe is what saved me from not staying paralyzed. I turned a 7 minute ago action that left me 100% paralyzed. And somehow I come out of my mouth with a positive thing like, hey, I can go visit schools like Christopher Reeves does. I can talk to children and as I say this positive thing, Danny Young, our trainer, goes, your left hand is moving, Buff. And I can't raise my head up and look at it because I'm paralyzed, but I start feeling my fingers a little, you know, and then it feels like hot water comes up my arm and it stops though. It don't go to my chest. And then hot water up my left leg, and then hot water up my right leg, and then hot water on this arm. And then when you're watching on TV, you'll see me go like this one time. It's because I can't feel my chest. Right after that is when they put me on the board and duct tape me down and I can't move anything. And I'm asking them, I'm like, I can move my fingers. Does that mean I'm paralyzed? And they won't answer you. And so finally I got mad. I go, can y'all effing hear me? I said, and the dude goes, we can't answer you because we don't know, brother. So quit asking. We don't know and we can't answer. So I said, thank you for telling me that. I'll quit asking now. So 3 hours later, duct tape across here, duct tape across here, duct tape across here. I'm on a board and can't move for 3 hours. And ambulance, Bischoff goes with me in the ambulance. But I kept doing this the whole time. But that's all I could move because I couldn't move anyway. I didn't know what I could do. CAT scans, MRIs. After that, the doctor walks in and goes, sit up. And I said, do what? He goes, sit up. And as the tape starts coming off, and as I start to set up, I feel 100% normal. My arms, I'm flexing, I'm shaking, I'm doing, what happened? What happened? He said, medically, you bruised your spinal cord. When you broke your neck at C3-4, when you broke your neck right there, the bone hit your spinal cord. And when it hit it, it bruised your spinal cord. So when you get a bruise, it swells. When it swells, you feel like you're paralyzed. When the swelling goes down, you feel like you're normal again. But the bone is still there. So they had to go in the next day. They put me straight to the hospital. I couldn't leave the hospital. They took the bone out of my spine right through here. I don't know if you can see that scar or not.
Yeah, I can see.
But right here, they go through here. They move your windpipe over, and they do all the work in here by taking that bone out and putting my hip a piece of my hip back in it. So these your spot C1, C2, C3, C4, cervical disc, cervical disc, cervical disc. At 3-4, this cervical disc, when my neck broke, hit my spinal cord. So I had to pull this cervical disc out, put my hip back in place of the cervical disc, a plate on the back, two screws and two screws, four screws, and they did the same thing down at 6-7. They pulled it out, so I got fused at two places. So after the surgery was over, there was two plates and 8 screws that are still in my neck right here. That's what I thought about when I heard that song.
So, having gone through all that, what do you say to the people that say wrestling is fake?
I tell them that story. I first tell them a funny story. I tell them the story of Archie Bunker on All in the Family. Archie Bunker's watching wrestling on TV on the All in the Family show,
Mhm.
and he's watching it. And Meathead walks in and goes, "Archie, what are you watching?" And he goes, "I'm watching wrestling." He goes, and the crowd laughs, and he goes, "Don't you know that they they know they know what's happening? They know what they're going to do?" And everybody laughs, and he goes, "I know they know what's going to happen, but I don't know what's going to happen."
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that says so much because that's the truth. It's like David Copperfield really don't make the 747 disappear. We know that, but how did he do it? So the magic is, um, and of course, just 20 years ago, Bill Watts flew the baby faces on one plane and the heels on the other. And that was just 20 years ago, guys. And now we're talking about how finishes are done and get everywhere. Now there's no more kayfabe at all anymore. But back in just 20 years ago, there was a huge amount of kayfabe to where you would lose your job over it. But it's not as bad anymore, because wrestling now is that entertainment word. But basically, I would always just say, "What do you do for a living?" And no matter what their answer was, I would say, "Is it real to you?" And they would go, like, "Wow, oh, good answer. Okay, I'm sorry." And they'll apologize. But that's usually what I would go to is just, "What do you do for a living?" "Well, I build pools." "Well, is that fake?" "No, it's not." "Okay, well, there you go. There's your answer." So that would get you out of it a lot too.
Wow.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say wow because like I would have never thought you would have said that. I would have never thought you would have said that. That would have brought back. I would have thought something totally different. Like
Tell me
wow.
what you think.
I mean, by you saying that and still having a positive affirmation to like come from that, that's only God. That's only God. That's only the man upstairs doing that. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
humanly speaking, you know what I mean. We're always going to think that's a tragic accident. We're going to think every negative thing in the book. But at that point in time, you wasn't thinking humanly. You was thinking
Right.
how God would think. And then from that moment forward, God showed you favor and just said, "Hey, you're going to be all right. I'm going to take care of you." And then look behold, you practically normal again. So it was just like,
Yes. So that's weird. That's weird you say that because um when at that time in my life, I felt like I felt like I was biblical. I went to church every once in a while. I knew who God was, but I didn't have a relationship with God at that moment. But I still was a God fearing person, and I just had heard a sermon about not asking God why.
Mm-hmm.
People, you see retarded kids, and why does God do that? And you see people that get dementia. Well, why would God do that? And you just, whatever sermon I heard, it was telling me that that was bad, and I took it that way, and I believed it. So here is Buff Bagwell laying on your back, paralyzed. Let me tell you guys, I wanted very badly to say, why? Why am I paralyzed? Why would you cripple me, brother? Right now in the highlight of my career. And somehow I remembered that sermon. And instead of saying why, I said, is this the plan you have for me? That's what came out of my brain. I didn't say it, but that's what I thought. Lex and nobody heard that, but I remember going, is this really what you were planning on? I mean, I'm in front of 80,000 people, 10 million on TV, and it's over. Is this really the way you wanted it to go? And I didn't, but I did it without saying why. And it was hard. It was very hard, but I believe with all of my heart, 27 years later saying this, I believe because of my attitude is why, like you said a minute ago, I'm almost completely normal from it.
Wow. If that doesn't inspire anybody to keep pressing forward, then I don't know what will. I mean, gosh, like just hearing that itself and hearing the conviction of how you're explaining it, just right there, that could just open up somebody's ears and saying, "What the heck am I complaining for?" Because right
Yeah.
then and there, you could have just gave up and you could have just said, "Hey, the heck with it, I'm done." But you didn't, and you pressed
No.
forward.
Yeah. I mean, I could have easily gotten really mad,
Mm-hmm.
brother. I mean, God, well, what are you doing to me? I can't believe you're doing this to me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was 100% paralyzed. Like if you set the clock as soon as the bump happened, probably 4 minutes. And listen to me, there ain't no hope because who ever even heard of a person that can be 100% paralyzed for 4 minutes and then miraculously they're not paralyzed? That's not a thing that anybody even knows of. This is the first time people have ever even probably heard that story, a story
Yes.
like that. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you that there's no hope at all. And to find positivity in zero hope from being paralyzed, I believe God rewarded me for that. Is what I feel.
I believe so too. I believe so too. That's inspirational. I, you know what? And I'll be honest with you. I don't know what I would have done with myself if I was in that type of situation. Because, like I said before, when we're in that moment, when we're in that moment, our mind is just going everywhere else but that. You know what I'm saying? Because I could remember, I,
Absolutely.
I could remember plenty of times where I've had terrible things happen, and the last thing I was asking was, "Yeah, we gonna get through this." Everything negative, everything negative was flowing through my head. So like
that
that's a.
that day, that day before I left for all of this, as I got in my car to leave for Columbia, South Carolina, I wrote an $88,000 check for the lot of land I was trying to build my house on as well.
Mm-hmm.
I remember laying there going, "How am I going to pay for that? How am I going to pay for that, God? How am I going to ride? I mean, I'm not going to be able to ride my motorcycle again. I can't, I mean, all of these things were just zooming at me, brother.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I literally stroked that $88,000 check, got my car, and drove straight to Columbia, South Carolina. Did the rate, did the voiceovers on the song. Went to the ring and got paralyzed.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Crazy.
Wow. Well, you know what? I know for one thing, I am never, ever going to complain about something small again.
Ever.
I'm
A guy
never.
saw me in the gym. Yes, a guy saw me in the gym yesterday, and here I come walking in with my prosthetic leg on. He goes, "How can I complain about anything?" And I said, "You shouldn't." I said, "You shouldn't." I said, "If I'm here, everybody can be here." I said, "So have a good workout, brother."
Wow. Wow. That is something. Go ahead. Go ahead, Dub. Go ahead.
Well, let's go ahead and start from the very beginning, and we'll just work our way up until what's going on right now, right?
Love
So,
it. Love it.
what is the one thing? What is the one thing that pushed you towards professional wrestling?
That's a great question. All pro wrestling, I feel like not all, let's just say a very high percentage of all the pro wrestlers, uh, they wanted to be a pro wrestler from a very young age. They had the birthday cakes for their favorite wrestler. They dressed up in Halloween costumes as their favorite wrestlers. They watched pro wrestling all the way through. They wanted to be a pro wrestler. That could not be further from the truth my walk. Um, I watched pro wrestling as a young child. My brothers watched, my dad and family watched pro wrestling. We knew who Sting and the Road Warriors and Dusty Rhodes and Ric Flair, and we knew who those guys were. But to go see a wrestling match, to buy a ticket, to have a birthday cake as my favorite wrestler, never happened with me or my brothers ever. Um, but I remember one Halloween, I think my brother dressed up like Dusty Rhodes, and so it was in our family, but not like it is in most pro wrestlers' lives. I mean, it's pretty much it's overtaken their life, the whole life with wrestling. With me, even through high school, I didn't watch pro wrestling once after ninth grade. I don't, probably 10th grade. So deer hunting and Sunday 605 and, you know, um, Gordon Soley and all that. We watched and loved it. But again, when that was over, it wasn't like we continued talking about wrestling that week or, it was just more of a show we watched that we loved and was entertained by it. And then, so with me, we were going to be lumber supply children. My parents owned a company called Southeastern Building Supply, and it was a multi-million-dollar company that we had had for 17 years and been rich for my whole life up to then. I was a rich kid. I drove a Corvette to school and very wealthy and not spoiled brats by no means. We were very well behaved. Had great manners. We had really tough parents yes ma'am, no ma'am, just very well mannered kids. But we had what we wanted from if it cranked, we had it from a very young age. And we were deer hunters, a very southern family, country redneck. We were rednecks with money. But the boys, and I was the youngest, was going to run the lumber company. And so my senior year, my two brothers, 7 years older and 5 years older, they had been at Southeastern Building Supply for 5 and 7 years. So I was next as the baby boy to come work at Southeastern Building Supply. There's a huge disadvantage in being rich in high school. I mean, if anybody could pick a choice of being rich or not being rich, everybody, if you didn't want to, you should pick, I'd rather be rich. But the reason why it's a disadvantage is because there's all your eggs are in one basket. And my father didn't, I mean, there was just kind of like WCW going to the WWF and going away. That's kind of how Southeastern Building Supply was in 1988. It was never going to happen. Southeastern Building Supply had been there 17 years. It was going nowhere but up and positive. And in that time, when I'm ready to graduate and graduated with a 1.8 grade point average, and my brothers had full scholarship rides to schools to play ball and didn't go because they'd rather be rich at home. And then the company in 1988 goes down. So my senior year, when I'm getting ready to go to work and be rich under the Southeastern Building Supply umbrella, we go broke. So my dad comes to us and says, "Look, we got enough money to get you guys started into something. What do you want to do?" So my oldest brother picked a gym. My middle brother picked a drywall company. And then I'm 18 years old. I'm like, what do I want to do? You know? So we got together as a team. My family got together as a team, and we came up with. I wanted to do something sports related, but again, right here, in every other pro wrestler's world, I'm going to be a pro wrestler. It wasn't nowhere in the human brain of doing that. But what we came up with as a family was massage therapy. It was the massage therapy world was trying to really clean up its name by, instead of the word masseuse, it was massage therapist. And the Atlanta School of Massage was $10,000 to go to it, and you got a job out of it, and also by doing massage therapy, that's part of sports medicine. And I wanted maybe to be a sports trainer, maybe, or again, guys, I'm 18 with a 1.8 grade point average. What do you do? So we choose this, and it was really great. I loved it. It was a 10-month class, $10,000, and you can make real good money from it. And so I go to school for 10 months. I graduate number one in my class. I get the best job in Atlanta called Corporate. It was a kind of company called Corporate Sports. They had all the athletic clubs in Atlanta, and I had an incredibly good job. I show up to my very first day at work and have my white little doctor's coat on, and 19-year-old Marcus Bagwell, and the lady walks in, she looks at me, and she turns around and walks out. And I go, well, "Ma'am, excuse me, where are you going?" She goes, "There's no way I'm letting you massage me." If you can take that one section of talking to this lady, it was like a giant light bulb went over my head of, oh my God, women are going to be intimidated to be massaged by me. Oh my God. And it was like, and of course, I tried to erase that bubble because of $10,000 and 10 months of my life I just spent to do this. So I still go after this $10,000 dream and career, and I did well at it, but I had zero women clientele. And I started thinking back. I remember massage therapists coming in with peace signs on their shirt and tie dyes and very pasty skin and very skinny and flip flops and sandals. And it was very different than I was. I was taking steroids and tan and real big and jacked up. And it was a different thing. But I thought, if those guys were making money looking like that, I'll make real good money. But I was missing the point about women being a little insecure about an attractive male massaging them. And I didn't know it. I did it and went through the class. So I found myself, think about it, McDonald's. If you work at McDonald's, if you are a McDonald's or a wrestling company or a lumber company or a movie company, if you only have half the population, you're not going to make it. You're not going to make it. And that's all I had. I had only the male population in a career. So it was not going to work, but I still kept trying to make it work. In the middle of trying to make it work, I'm at the pool one day and Missy Hyatt sees me at the pool and says, "You should be a pro wrestler." And I said, "A what?" She goes, "A pro wrestler." And I said, all the things that I hate to hear now is the things that I said. I said, "You mean those guys on TV? You mean like TV wrestling?" And she's like, "Yeah." I go, "Those guys don't make any money." And she goes, "Our lowest paid guy makes $100,000 a year." And I said, "Tell me more. Tell me more." And she did. She told me more. And I set up to go to the WCW school, which was not called the power plant yet. It was just a warehouse down in Griffin, Georgia, where Jody Hamilton and Buddy Lee Parker ran this little warehouse. And Kevin Nash was in the ring. Me and Kevin were big buddies from him being the head bouncer in Atlanta and me being a client at all the party places. And Kevin was like Patrick Swayze in Roadhouse. Kevin Nash was the bouncer of all the cool clubs in Atlanta. And I was 10 years younger than Kevin Nash and going to all the party places that he bounced at. But we were friends during all of this. So I go to the WCW warehouse to get trained, and it's a dump. They wanted $3,000. And I came back to Missy. I was like, "Missy, I don't got 3,000. I don't have $3,000, and it's a dump." And she goes, so she found Steve the Brawler Lawler was the guy's wrestling name, and he trained me for $1,500, and he beat me up for about 3 days, and then said, "I think you can do this." And he showed me what I needed to know, and it was just I caught on real quick.
So if you could explain your first bump, what they call bump, how would you explain that coming from somebody that didn't want to do this and then heard how much the lowest person makes and is like, "Let's do it." Was it like a shock to you how hard you hit the mat and the ropes?
That's again, y'all guys are asking such great questions. So first of all, a little bit of my background. At 13 years old, I won the Golden Glove State Championship in Georgia at boxing. I was 60-1. Then in the Marietta Daily Journal paper, my name was Killer B. I had two older brothers and I was really tough. Everybody I fought came out like this. And I'm over there with Everlast and boots. I look like a white Apollo Creed is what I look like. I got the tights. My mom found a pair of skates for boots and took the wheels off, so I had real boxing boots with the tassels hanging off of them. And I'm out there like, and I'm killing everybody, and it's incredible. And then they went from weight to age, and that was bad because I was really small for my age. And so I got beat up real bad after being 60-1 and winning the Georgia thing. So I was going to take a year off and come back, but high school happened. So I never went back to boxing, but all county, all state baseball, all county, all state football. The youngest of three brothers, very tough kid. Um, Nothing to brag about, but always was in fights and winning. So very tough kid. And I went to wrestling school under Steve Lawler. And my parents, because everything I ever did, I was successful at. So they threw a party for me on going to be a pro wrestler. And I came home from that night at the ring and I made them stop everything because I was never going back. It was the hardest thing that I personally have ever done in my life. I was beat up. I was hurting. And another disadvantage for me was I saw Missy's schedule, and I tried to make what I just did fit in to Missy's schedule. And I said, that's not possible. You can't do what I just did and do it 4 times a week. You can't do that. What are these guys doing? This is a whole nother galaxy. I don't know why, except I had no other choices, I think. But I went back the second night, and the rest is history. But I almost didn't go back. It was that unbelievably. And the ring ropes, which nobody really believes, was the hardest thing for me. You know, just steel cable with a rope around with a garden hose around it and tape. A lot of people don't know that, and I didn't hit the ropes like a lot of guys did with your back. I would hit it with the side because I can see my opponent better. And man, and I had a giant back, but my back was black and blue for a year. Man, it was the hardest thing for me to get used to. But it is the hardest thing in 55 years of life that I've ever done in my life. Was those first 3 days of pro wrestling. My heels hurt, my everything hurt, but I hurt what I never hurt before ever. Um, I could do a sunset flip off the top rope, and Steve Lauder thought that was just incredible. So he kept showing people I could do this. My heels were bruised for 6 months. I was beat up in every facet of body. And I couldn't train. I'm like, how do these guys work out and they're sore? It was the most unbelievable thing that I could not put my head on, except I was broke. I was broke. So I kept pushing forward to try to reach this $100,000 dream.
One last question before I pass it on to my boy over here. I saw that you trained with Dusty Rhodes also, and as wrestling fans, we hear nothing but great stories about people that trained under Dusty Rhodes and stuff like that. So, any good stories you could tell us about your time with Dusty?
It's just not true. So the reason why the Dusty Rhodes and the Dustin Rhodes, that's just because of TV stuff. When they found that this 20-year-old kid could do this and could do it well, they needed to tell some kind of story. So they had Dustin Rhodes and me and Mike Graham. I mean, I was in the ring probably twice with those guys. So there was really no training. My training happened on live television and not looking stupid. But I had about a year of looking stupid with North Georgia wrestling, and I got really good at not looking stupid because I'd looked stupid for so long. And when WCW called, I had figured it out. There was a big aha moment for me when North Georgia went to global. As I went from North Georgia Wrestling to the Global Wrestling Federation on ESPN, I remember walking in the dressing room for the first time, and I saw the babyface and the heels talking. And I said, wait a second, wait a second. I said, y'all can talk before you go to the ring? And they were like, where have you been? And I was like, brother, we don't do that. We would show up to skating rinks, and the baby faces were on one side of the building. We were on the other. The ref passed a couple of spots between you, and you went out and you looked stupid for a year. Well, I kind of got good at doing it that way. I'd gotten pretty good at it. I mean, I still looked horrible, I think, but gotten a lot better at it. And then when I was able to talk to my opponent for just a few seconds, my matches went instantly much better the next time I went out. So I went from being to pretty dadgum good at global. And then that's where WCW called, and I was, off and running. But Dusty never trained me a day. Dustin was in the ring with me once or twice. Steve Lawler trained me 3 times. I really learned by looking like an idiot. in front of a live crowd for a year. And when you look stupid in front of people, you fix it. You fix it real quick. And I did. I fixed it quick and I got better at it. I listened and I learned and I got good at doing what I was told. And I was good at it. And I didn't know the names of them. I didn't know the names of the moves. I faked it till I made it. I really did. I faked it till I made it. But I knew how to do all the stuff. The wrestlers could show me. Chris Benoit, remember? Chris Benoit was the first big guy, first big wrestler I wrestled with a name. And in the back, he showed me all these moves like fish out of the water. They had all these names, but I didn't know none of the names. I just knew how to do it. Show me what to do, and I can do it, and I can do it good. And he would show me after that match. Dusty Rhodes came at me, ripped his headset off, and goes, "You didn't tell me you knew how to wrestle." I said, "Yeah." I said,
Wow.
I'm pretty good." I said, "Dusty, I can do this." And so I kind of and that's where he put me and Scorpio together. And the rest is history.
Yeah, I remember the two coats. I remember when you
But
tagged with two coat Scorpio. Yup. I remember that.
yeah, but
Yeah.
George South tells a story about me that's one of the best stories I've ever heard. And it's him at Georgia Mountain Center in Gainesville, Georgia. And Dusty, my tryout dark match was in front of an empty building with Dusty Rhodes at ringside like this and goes, "Show me what you got." And so I had a live, no dark match, no cameras rolling. Dusty Rhodes was the hard camera. And I had a tryout, and it was me and another guy, and I got the job over this other guy. And that was the first night. I wrestled that night. But I made my match. I won that. I won Dusty over, and he was at ringside watching me wrestle. And that's when he came up with he wanted to use my real name and all that. And I begged him not to, but he wanted to. So Dusty Rhodes is who hired me and gave me my first chance, but he never did anything in the wrestling ring or anything like that to help me. It was really, I don't give really a whole lot of credit to anybody. I think just me looking stupid is what got me there.
Wow.
For a long
Fair
time, I
enough.
got better and
Fair
better. I
enough.
got better and better at it.
Wow. That's man. I would.
Hey, baby, bring my charger, baby. Please. Sorry, I got to get my charger.
Nah, no problem. That,
I'll be right back.
there's a lot of things that you're saying that I would have never expected you to say. That's just crazy. Like it's a lot of things you're saying I've never expected you to say. I would like because most of the athletes that we have spoke to thus far, they always have their name synonymous with somebody else that has put them where they at.
I
And
know.
you're basically saying that no, this is what happened and this is how I got
Yeah.
here. Wow.
I mean, Dusty hired me, and I'm grateful for that. But that was all there was they called a meeting, and I walked in, and he said, "I like your teeth," and I said, "Good," and he said he hired me to go to. I went to school at $500 a week, a wrestling school, and I went one time, and Barry Windham blew his knee out, and they put me on the road, and I never looked back.
Wow. Wow. And right when you're saying all these names, my mind is going back to like the old WCW Saturday night, all those shows I used to watch as a kid, WCW Thunder, uh, what else? What else?
Thunder is the show I got paralyzed on.
Oh, really?
Thursday
Really?
night Thunder, Thursday April. If you look at your calendar, April 22nd, 1998 was on a Thursday night because it was Thursday night Thunder in Columbia, South Carolina.
Wow.
Live TV. I was paralyzed.
Wow. So I gotta go back. I gotta go back and watch now because you got me
You
interested in
do.
seeing that. I need to see that. Wow. Mm-mm-mm. It's it. like I said before, it's a testimony. It's a testimony. You know what I mean? And like if you don't get inspired by nothing, you definitely gotta get inspired by that.
Absolutely.
That's how I feel. But I got
Baby, my charger.
I got
Sorry.
these. No problem. So I want to ask you these questions because like I just wanted to hear your opinions or whatever. So you joining the NWO, you joined the NWO in the late 1996. You was turning against Scotty Riggs and then instantly becoming Buff Bagwell. What was your initial feeling like walking out as a part of the dominant group? And how did you develop the iconic Buff persona and mannerisms so quickly?
That's another great question. You know, the NWO thing, me and Scotty were, I remember not, NWO happened so fast that I remember not being a guy that was, I hadn't even had hope for it yet because it just had been so quick. And me and Scotty Riggs just had been the world tag team champions and hadn't had a good little thing going. So it wasn't like we wasn't in the mix of things anyway. But around that time, we were in the mix of everything. Um, I remember Kevin Nash coming to me and going, "Do you want to be in the NWO?" And I'm like, "Absolutely." But I also remember looking at Scotty Riggs's face that night and thinking, "Oh man, that can't be good," you know. But he still did very well. He did the flock and hung around for a couple of minutes for sure and did well. So he was there till the end also. Um, but um, but I do remember it being not a good thing for Scotty, you know. Um, and I remember, in the ring that night, turning on Riggs and seeing all that talent, all those big names, and thinking, this is you've done something right to be in that ring. So I was very, very honored, very happy to be part of that, and wanted and also at the same time, I knew that was a chance for me to drop the Marcus Alexander Bagwell thing. I thought I could get rid of it. Um, and WCW wouldn't have it. They allowed me to drop the Alexander, but they went to the Marcus Buff Bagwell. They just liked my name. The WCW, they enjoyed they liked my name, so they kept it. I wanted to be Sting, you know um, Ultimate Warrior, Hulk Hogan, Buff Bagwell. No Marcus, but they just wouldn't drop it. And that's okay. It just because the Buff thing took off, but I didn't think of the name. We were on a plane ride home. The WCW was, and I remember trying to come up with a name, and we hadn't been trying too long, but I can't even remember something we had came up with. But me and Luger were attempting to come up with a cool name. And in the back corner of first class in the dark, we heard a guy go, "What about Buff?" And me and Luger went, "Yeah." And we looked, and in the darkness, the light clicks on, and it was Nick Patrick. He goes, "What about Buff Bagwell?" And we were like, "Oh my God, that's it. That's great. Buff Bagwell." And now the rest of the rest of your question, I was thinking about it. I don't think I have an answer for it, but I don't know. We're buff the stuff, and the girls can't get enough, and I have no idea how that happened so fast. But the attitude of me was just a cocky Marcus Bagwell. Like if anybody else is a baby face is turning heel, and they're going to be to that 10 volume of being a bad guy. I just, it's a lot of fun to be bad, and I did it pretty well. And when you have a certain look and you brag about that, it kind of helps you become hated. So it was an easy thing for me to switch into a cocky persona,
Hmm.
especially with the way I looked.
Hmm. Yeah, like I remember like so many type of catchphrases that you had. The dance moves where you'll go like this, then you'll go and
So
do
the
the
dance. Listen
pose.
to this. So
Yeah,
the dance. Hey, hold on 1 second. Hey, baby,
yeah.
Stace, Stacy. Oh my God, baby. I know, but I need a charger, baby. Um. So the dance, Baltimore, Maryland,
Hmm.
um, is a house show, and Dallas Page he would video all of his matches, and we got the thank you, and we got the he had the video out, and at this junction, I knew that I was on to something really, really big. Like it was, I mean, like the boys were starting to come from the back and listen to me. I mean, watch me wrestle. It was something that I knew we had a crap. Um, it was something that I knew I really had that was going good.
Hmm.
And in Baltimore, Sting got the whole locker room of full of steamboats and Duggins and Lugers and they came out to watch me wrestle a house show. And when I got to the back, I knew I had something special. This was, I mean, these guys were like kids in a candy store. They were like, "Where did you get that from?" And I'm like, what are you talking about? What did I do?" And they're like, um, you did this dance, Sting said. He goes, you did a dance.
Hmm.
And I said, what kind of dance? He said, he said, it was like and they're trying to explain it, and I couldn't figure it out. So I went to Dallas's recording, and I watched it back, and I see me do this dance, and I'm like, so I watch myself do it, and Steen goes, "You've got to add that into your stuff. It's incredible." So along with what I already had as my character,
Hmm.
I added in that dance with it, and it was really entertaining. It was very entertaining.
Yeah, it was. It was. I remember doing it a few times as a kid, like going and that in the
I
mirror
think
and
it'd
stuff
be a
like
great. I
that.
think it'd be a great touchdown dance.
Yeah, it definitely would. It definitely would for sure. Like you know, but I remember that dance faithfully. Like I was like, yo, I remember when he used to
Oh,
do this, and
I'd
so
come up, I throw an arm drag real fast and come up and point and
yeah,
be like, boom,
yeah,
boom, boom, and then boom. It was funny,
yeah, yeah,
and then I'd
yeah.
rock it, boy. I'd rock it.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that was. And I also think too that was one of the things that the crowd liked the most too because it definitely got over and it got over fast,
Did man? Yeah,
fast too. It
it did.
gravitated to people. So yeah, I definitely remember it. Um, the power structure as a young guy in a faction with legends like Hulk Hogan, Hall and Nash, what was your biggest lesson you learned from being in the NWO locker room and traveling with those veterans?
Got another great question. It was you had to. It was about trying. Like when we came out to the ring with Hogan, you guys don't really know it, but we're jockeying for position instantly.
Hmm.
But it was about jockeying for position without looking like you're jockeying for position.
Hmm.
You had to act like you didn't really care, but I always ended up right over Hogan's shoulder. is what I aim for, is to be close to Hogan. Whatever he was doing, the camera was going to be on Hogan. So, and you had to do things that was subtle, like I threw a do rag in there, the do rag, and then I put Buff. Here's a bunch of black shirts, black jeans, black boots, and I come up with Buff, so people could see my name. We all look the same out there. So it was about doing subtle things that helped without standing out too much. And so I learned to not step on toes, but to let them, but also to increase my popularity. And then the top hat came, and stuff like that. So you would try to do things that stood out, but didn't step on toes.
Right, right, right. The top
That's
hat
what I
thing.
learned.
The top hat thing was definitely one of my favorites as well. When you seen the top hat, you know already off the bat that's Buff. That's
That's
Buff.
it.
And it's funny you say standing out because your uniqueness kept you like everybody know who you were. Everybody else they could have blended in, but you blended in a way that it wasn't like, oh, like, oh yeah, that's the NWO. You like, no, that's the NWO, but that's NWO's Buff Bagwell.
Yes.
You understand what I'm
And,
saying?
and looking back on it, it probably almost it really should have probably got heat, but it just didn't. They allowed me to be. I mean, that's a lot of big fish, brother. You got Nash, you got Hall, you got Luger, you got Henning. I mean, look at these names, bro. And so I think they just didn't care about Little Buff. I think it was okay. And before they knew it though, I was standing beside them, which was a good thing. It wasn't a negative thing, but I think if it would have been Luger putting his name on the back, that would have got heat to the guys. If Luger would have come up with a top hat, I think it would have got heat. But that's just Buff. That's just Buff. And before they knew it though, I was there with them, and so it helped. It increased my popularity to where I was happy and proud to stand in that ring with those guys because they were superstars, man, all of them.
Yeah, for sure. Okay.
Can I say something real quick?
Go ahead.
Hearing all this, the top hat, I just had flashbacks of me being 10, 11, 12 years old, being in my mirror, doing the flexing. And I was nothing but like a scrawny little kid. But I'm like, it I must say, as a fan, you were my favorite. You and Mr. Perfect were my favorite wrestlers out of all NWO.
I
And
love that.
and thinking about it, just listening to everything, and I remember being in my bathroom with the door closed. I close my eyes and see it right now, and me just flexing like I'm Buff, like I'm the
I
Black Buff Bagwell. It's
love it.
just I just have to tell you that.
I love it. I love it. Makes me feel like I did something very important.
Yeah, nah, you did, cause you definitely instilled a lot of memories in a lot of kids that are adults today, of course. But like you instilled a lot of memories. I I could. There's multiple stuff I just say that I can remember that you did, and then we'll talk about it today. The next day in school. With my friends, like, yo, did you see Monday Nitro? Did you see this? Did you see that? So, so like
It really,
definitely.
it really was a great show, man. It was a fantastic show. Um, to see, just trying to every once in a while somebody will show me a clip or something, and it just baffles me how that went away. I don't know what happened, but It was 10 years early, brother. It was
Mm-hmm.
10 years early. That should have been 10 years more of everything y'all are talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And instead, it was just gone at the ripe old age of 31 for me.
Wow.
And I had to take everything y'all are talking about, I had to take it to the slum indie world. And they had a blast and they loved it. And it was wonderful for them, but it wasn't on mainstream television like it should have been, you know?
Right. Right. Yeah. I got a question that's not in front of me. Stars and Stripes. You and the Patriot. How did that tag team get started? Because I'm gonna be honest with you. Stars and Stripes, you guys were like superheroes to me. Seeing the Patriot with that mask and then carrying that flag and then hearing that music and coming to the ring, like you
Brother,
guys were like superheroes. So
absolutely.
how did that tag team get started?
And let me tell you what, I'll tell you how it got started. I'll tell you what held it back from being maybe the one of the best tag teams ever
Mm-hmm.
was. So how it got started was me and Scorpio were tag team of the year. I
Right.
was, we were world champions.
Mm-hmm.
I was rookie of the year that year, and Scorp gets fired. Don't really know why or how. I mean, we heard drug tests, but there's all who knows. It's 30 years ago. I can't even remember, but he got fired. Um, and at that junction, I'm thinking I'm getting fired because why would you keep Marcus Bagwell when you just fired Two Cold Scorpio? So I get called, and I'm like, oh boy, here we go. And they were like, hey, why don't you do you know Dale Wilkes? And I said, no, I do not. And they go, well, you're really good at coming up with outfits. And they saw me come up with all my outfits for me and Scorpio. They said, do you think you can do anything with the red, white, and blue? I said, why red, white, and blue? And they were like, because you're going to be stars and stripes. And I was like, yeah, yes, I can do that. And man, we came up with some great tights, brother.
Mm-hmm.
Let me rephrase that. I came up with some great tights. The every teammate I had, Scorpio let me do it because most guys don't want to. Dale let me do it. And Scotty Riggs let me do it. I came up with all of our stuff every time. All the outfits, all the ideas. And those tights came from a guy sketched me like a comic book scene with me and the Patriot, and he had those tights on the drawing, and I was like, oh my god, that's perfect. So I sent my tights to me and Sting used the same girl. Her name was Susie Tennis. And she did all the Sting stuff and she did all of Stars and Stripes and Buff and Marcus Alexander Bagwell stuff. So we had the same girl. I sent her the picture. The only thing I couldn't get Dell to do is Dell wouldn't lose the old timer trunks over the tights.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember. I
You know,
remember. Yeah.
those old timers did the tights, but then they did the trunks over the tights,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and he wouldn't drop it. I go, Dale, that's old, man. Get over that. Come on, brother. And he wouldn't drop it, so that's okay. We came up with the still the same. We got boots made and all that. That was a great outfit. The only thing that stopped Stars and Stripes from being, I think, huge was we hired Jim Duggan at the same time. And it's hard to have two USA guys in the same card. You know? I mean, that USA chant's easy to get, man. It's easy. And
Mm-hmm.
it's big. But when the fans got to do it twice on one show, it's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And it keeps one of us, either we took away from Duggan or Duggan took away from us, however you want to look at it. I love Jim Duggan, but I think that we took up a lot of his USA power and Duggan took up a lot of ours. And I think it would have been a bigger thing in Germany. Here's Germany, a Germany tour, 7 matches, and 2 of the 7 are USA chants. So it was just kind of overkill,
Mm,
but it was still a wonderful tag team. Me and Del Wilkes won the titles twice. Love Del Wilkes, great tag team partner, and had a bunch of great matches with him.
wow, yeah. I got one more. I got one more. So when you seen the trailer that was done for you, what memories did that bring back to you? The trailer that we did for the show. What memories did that bring back to you?
Oh my God.
And by the way, I'm the one that designed the trailer. Outside of what I do for a living. I'm also a graphic designer and I'm a computer animator, so I do a lot of the artwork and stuff like that. I draw and everything.
What I was impressed with is you had the girl to announce I was coming on. I don't know how you got that done so quick, but that was cool.
Yeah,
Um, but all of it was cool, real cool. But anytime I see anything like what you did,
yeah,
it is just like a barrage of wonderful memories and thoughts because
yeah,
there's a bunch of great stuff that happened in a 5-year period.
yeah.
Nobody cared who WCW was for 5 years, and then everybody cared. So
You're
it was
right.
a really, it was, even though it was an 11-year run for me, it was really about a 5 or 6 year run that was just over the top. And that's a lot of stuff to put in 6 years. That's a lot. And it was wonderful to put it all in there, but it was just a great time, a great run with a lot of great memories.
Yeah. The only reason why I say that is because we on our show, myself and my brother, like we take pride in appreciating, the wrestlers, the athletes that come on our show. So when and like you said about the ideas and stuff like that, when I came up to the idea, I was like, yo, I think we should spice it up a little bit and we should try to like make ourselves stand out from all the other podcasts and do something different because not for nothing we kind of run our podcast like a professional wrestling promotion. Like he does the booking, he does the emailing, he calls this and calls that, and then I'm like like I'm like the creative. Like I'll go and get the designs done. I'll map out, okay, let's try this and let's try that. And then we just combine forces together. And then we just became like, this like dynamic duo. You know what I'm saying?
I'll
And
tell you when it came on, I've never been on another podcast that when I watched the part where they say be quiet and they're coming on, I never had it I never had it shock me. It shocked me how cool it was that I thought, who's this girl talking? And then she goes, coming up, Buff Bagwell gonna chop it up. And I was like, what? How did they when did they shoot that and how did they shoot it? And so that was really cool. And all of it was really cool. The way y'all did the whole thing, the 10-9-8, and
yeah.
it was really done very well.
Yeah. The only reason why I say that is because that I felt like it will help us stand out a little bit more and give us more of an identity. You know what I'm saying? You see a lot of the podcasts they get kind of bland or whatever. Even though they interviewing the wrestlers, they don't have something that makes them unique. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
No,
so
you're
me
right.
and so me and my bro, we always try to think outside the box. What can make us unique? What can make us stand out from everybody else? Oh, okay, we're wrestling fans. Okay, what can we do to make our fandom stand out from everybody else? And then say, oh, that's the ring rope and turnbuckle guys. That's them. And then, AI comes into the picture, graphic design, all that stuff. So I said, how can I combine the two together? And that's what we came up with. But I just wanted to get your thoughts on that because honestly, not for nothing, we just recently got these plugins for the podcast. We didn't have these plugins no longer than 2-3 weeks.
I mean, I knew that's how it had to be because it just was too fresh it was too fresh for it to be any other way about it. But it just caught me completely off guard that it was
Yeah.
that professional.
Yeah. We just got those plugins, those programs, just not even that long ago because
Super cool.
we started using it. I believe we started using it a few weeks ago when we had Savio Vega on, and then we used it again when we had KC Kazana on, and we had his brother on before that. So then we was like, okay, so there's more. Then all of a sudden there's this update program that came in, and then it was like, yo, my boy was like, yo, we gotta get these ones right here. This one's gonna work. This one's gonna work, and then there you go. So yeah,
That I mean,
yeah,
it was really the best I've ever seen for any podcast I've done. I've never been
yeah.
shocked before a podcast. I was shocked.
Okay, wait till you see the ending, the closing, the closing mark. It's going to shock
All
you
right.
again. It's going to
Okay.
shock you again.
Good.
Go ahead,
Hold on.
bro.
He just said the best he's ever seen.
Yes.
Hey, we
No doubt.
appreciate it. We take it. We appreciate it. We
No
appreciate it.
doubt.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
I so do you still sell the top hats?
I do, but I came up with a new thing with the top hat. So the originals are gone. Those are done. They're gone. I had like 3 or 4 of those, and those are history, and somebody owns them. But I came up with, for the first time ever, I came up with a white one, and the white one, I get all the boys to sign it. So it's got Sting, Luger, Jake the Snake, Jimmy Hart. I got a list of the names that are on the hat and ink, and then they're sharpied all over it. And then at some junction, I'll sell the hat to somebody or give it away or something. It'll be something special to do something with.
I was
And then
just
I'll do
thinking
another
because
one. Then I'll do another white one.
I got my hat here. I'm like, how cool would it be to show up on one of our podcasts that have a Buff Bagwell top hat on?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can buy one, and I can give you the one I've got. It's got 35 really great signatures on it, from Tito Santana to Rikishi to Sting and I got all the names written down. Dean Malenko, Perry Saturn. I mean, crazy names I've seen on the road. Matt Cardona. So all kind of crazy names I got on it. And the idea I got from putting it in, for like printing the names, was a guy had a chair that was signed, and on the back he had all the names that were printed that were on it, so you could at least tell the people who was on the hat or the chair. So that's where got that idea from. So I keep up with who signs it with a little piece of paper. So if everybody ever really wants to know who's on the hat, I got the list.
That's awesome.
But
That is
high
awesome.
spots, I sell. I can't show you right. I got one I can show you at the end. But I got little top hats I sell that's holding my battery charger up. But I'll show you that one. But High Spots came out with one that is, they're leather. They're made out of turnbuckle leather, and they're red and black with the lightning bolts on them and my face on the top, and they're leather, and they look really, really good. And I'm selling those now. But as far as an original Buff Bagwell top hat, I have one, and it's a white one that I wear with the signatures on it.
So, how do I get my hands on the ones that you are selling?
You go to marcusbuffbagwell.com. It's called the Big Cartel, but just go to marcusbuffbagwell.com, and you can buy those hats online.
Awesome. So,
Yeah. And if you want to buy
back
my
to
white hat, give me a price.
that's gonna have to come a little bit later down the road because I
That's
know that's gonna be
I
pricey.
want a bunch more signatures on it anyway. But yeah, that
Yeah.
will that's gonna be a good and that's gonna be a good one down the road for sure.
So back to the wrestling. What was it like from your perspective to be part of the Monday Night Wars?
It's huge, bro, but I'm not able to celebrate it because, and I hope and pray there will be a time I can, but you know, uh, there's a certain, I would say there's two handful of names that relate to Monday Night Wars, and I feel like I'm in one of those two hands, but I can't celebrate it because I'm not under that WWE umbrella. I love what they do. I love their program, but I think hopefully one day they'll see that I can be part of that wonderful company, and they'll give me a chance to do that. But all the Monday Night Wars action figures and stuff, you got to be under their umbrella. So I'm hoping that's next for me. I hope getting in the running for hopefully one day the Hall of Fame, and in the running for being part of the WWE. I'd love to be part of them.
Just by thinking of back then, you were part of WCW, you had the WW then F, you guys are clashing every Monday. From thinking about that, being actually part of it on the WCW side, what was it like in the locker room with all the guys seeing how all this was transpiring?
Well, let me tell you what it was like being on the private jet with Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff, as we're giving high fives because we beat them again Monday night, and how they're having a fake Kevin Nash and a fake Razor Ramon, that it was embarrassing. Like, we were upset for them. We were like, oh my God, what are they doing? How can they have a fake Razor Ramon and a fake Kevin Nash? What is Vince doing? What's happened? But it was not like, yeah, because we're the boys. So we had to act like, yeah, we beat him again to Eric, but really to the boys, there's got to be two companies. There's got to be. If there's just one company, like what happened when Vince got into the WWE, if there's just one company, there goes a whole lot of people. A whole lot of people goes to the side. So we had to high five Eric on the private jet because we beat him again. But really, we're going, not really. Not that's not good. That's not good for us. So we had to play kind of both sides of happy for the boss that we beat him again, but not happy for the boys because we need somewhere to go besides one place. There needs to be two companies. So we knew it was a kind of a double-edged sword, but in our locker room, their show was on. And in their locker room, our show was on.
Mm-hmm.
They, in the beginning, was on at 8 to, now we were 8 to 10, and they were 9 to 11.
Mm-hmm.
So at 8:59, we had Sting coming down from the rafters, NWO's hitting the ring. There's a lot going on. If you wasn't where you were supposed to be at 8:59, you were fired. It was crucial. So that's where the Monday Night Wars started, that 8:59 area. And you had to find out who's going to win the Clicker Awards. And that's when it all started, the Monday Night Wars, and then that 83 consecutive weeks we beat them. That was huge. It was huge. And again, during that time, it was like there wasn't talks about it. It was going to happen, that we were putting the WWF out of business.
Mm.
And that wasn't good. So again, we were high-fiving Eric, but really we're like, this is horrible. This is not good for us. There needs to be at least two companies. And so before we knew it, they owned us. It was like, how in the heck did that happen? So, it just happened.
So before I get into that selling and merger thing, one thing I wanted to back up on real quick was your finisher move. How did you come up with the blockbuster?
Great question, and I'm really proud of that. I'm proud that it still gets used a lot.
Mhm.
I'm glad they still call it my name, the Blockbuster. Very proud of that move and how people use it. And I came up with it because I was a Rick Rude fan. And the night I joined the NWO, if you remember, I hit Scotty Riggs with a rude awakening because I liked the neck breaker. I liked that move. But I couldn't copy Rick Rude's move exactly. So what could I do? How could I make the neck breaker something else kind of cool? And in a hotel room in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, I made that happen by practicing in a hotel room on beds, jumping from one bed to the other with Scotty Riggs. And we kind of got it down there. We went to the building the next day to go in the ring and do it, but we were real busy all day. So the first time I hit that move ever was live on TV.
How does it? You kind of went into it, but how does it make you feel when you see a lot of the bigger stars of today using that move like they do?
Dude, it's the best feeling in the world. I wish they would say the Buff Blockbuster. I wish, but still, I named it the Blockbuster, so it's the Blockbuster. It's my move, and that's big. That's huge, man. Just the other night, a friend of mine texted me where Logan Paul hit it. And they called it the Blockbuster. So when you come up with a move that's never been done before and top talent uses it, that's a big feeling, bro.
And you're talking about what, 30, almost, yeah, 30, 35 years ago, and they're
Yeah.
still using it with the original name at that.
Yes. I mean, they could have. I have enough heat that they should have took that away, but I'm glad they didn't. But they could have easily called it something else, but they called it, what I named it, which was the Blockbuster. And Disco Inferno is really who named that for me, and it was a great name. And a lot of people, you guys might not even know this, but Blockbuster used to be a company. Do y'all know that?
Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
the
But a
video
lot of
Movie.
the younger people may not know that. But that used to be like remember it was Turtles. You remember that?
No, I don't remember
Yeah, I don't
Turtles.
remember
Okay,
Turtles.
so listen to this. So it was. How old are you guys?
I'm
I'm
40.
I'm 43.
All right, so I'm 55. So before Blockbuster, there was a company called Turtles Records and Tapes. Look it
Wow,
up. And it was
wow.
the little mascot was a turtle, a little green turtle. But where you went for records and cassettes and tapes was a place called Turtles. Blockbuster came in and took all the turtles away and became nationwide popular Blockbuster. But the reason Disco came up with Blockbuster was not for that building or that company. Your block, your head is your block. It's a blockbuster. So your head is like it's considered like in cartoons and stuff, it's like bust your block or he busted his block. So your head is a block, so to speak, and it's a blockbuster. It's a head buster. But how Disco came up with it, and I loved it, so we kept naming it that. And the feeling I get when I see it on TV, and then when they say the name, which Tony Schiavone said the Buff Blockbuster a million times. And so when he calls it the Buff Blockbuster on AEW, I love it. But he don't say Buff, but he said the Blockbuster. I love it. And the WWE guys, they may not even know who I am, but the Blockbuster came from Buff Bagwell, and I love that.
I'm glad that you still get that honor and that they didn't take that away from you, because that's
Me
something
too.
that you came up with and it still carries to this day. That's almost like this is an homage to Buff Bagwell.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So we had the merger happen. Did you have any conversations with Vince McMahon as to what was going to happen with you personally?
So nobody knows this, and it's really not that big a deal at all. But there was a short time where Vince was courting me, where that I flew up to New York, limousine. But I really believe this merger thing happened, but like after we made the appointment for me to come see him, and um, because it got changed. How Vince courted guys is he flew you and your wife first class to his home and up in New York, and then you took a limousine from the airport to his house. You ate dinner, and then it was a limousine from his house back to the airport that night. You flew home. So we set on that journey to go meet Vince McMahon through a phone call to me for me to come to the WWF. And when I landed in New York, instead of Vince meeting me, I met with Shane at a hotel in like a suite at the Marriott at a hotel. And Vince wasn't there. And I can't even remember what the story was he was at, but it went from the dinner and all that just to me and Shane talking. And then we flew back home, and still a very positive situation. But I had signed my contract um, in the hospital bed before my broken neck surgery. So when Eric Bischoff called me, and I had a handshook deal with Eric, and then I break my neck. Eric could have very easily said, "Look, brother, I know we shook hands, but hey, your neck is broke and we don't know." He called me up before surgery and said, "Hey, I want you not to worry about that contract." And I said, "Well, I am worried." And so he goes, "Well, I'll just courier it right to you." This is when couriers was a thing. And he couriered it to the hospital. And I turned to the back page of the contract and saw 1.1 million, 3 years, and turned this many pages I should have gone through. Just turned to that, saw that my rent a cars, hotels was paid for, rent a cars are paid for, hotels are paid for, $1.1 million before I get my neck surgery. And I signed that and get it right back to him. That's before my neck surgery. So the last thing I was worried about was going to the WWF. But there were clauses in there that a lot of top talent gets taken out of their contract that I did not do, because I didn't want to do that to Eric, because Eric was giving me a 3-year deal, 1.1 million, and that was great, and I'm love it. But when Vince finally saw my contract, he was like, "You signed a regular contract, bro." I go, "I know I did." I explained to Vince what I just explained to you guys. And he said, "Well, we're not going to do business right now, but we will be doing business." And I said, "Yes, sir. Nice to meet you. Nice talking to you." And that was it. Um, Within 1 year was the merger. So I really believe that maybe with the start of the merger had started right there with him. Um, but that's what happened. And then, I went in there with my contract was up in just a few weeks, or about a month. So I had another month left on my contract, and I could have sat home for that month. But instead, I called Vince and I said, "Look, t- take my money. I'll lose 60 grand just to come aboard right now." So I lost $60,000 to come right aboard, and I was fired in 2 weeks.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
The Tacoma thing was something that I think shouldn't have happened. That match probably should have happened in Atlanta the next week. 1 week away, we knew something was up right there. Me and Booker are backstage whispering like this. But like, why are we doing this here? Why are we doing this here? But you can't ask them that. So we just did the best we could, and the match got a bunch of bad publicity. Um, how bad the match was and all that. I don't think it was bad. It just wasn't good. But nobody gets fired over a bad match. But
Hmm.
that's what they said happened. But that just isn't true. If that's the case, somebody should be fired every night. You know, I mean,
True story.
Oh boy.
You know what I'm saying? Somebody should be fired every Monday night, probably. But no, nobody talked to us about it or anything, and they told us not to worry about it. And then they make it about my mother calling and all that. But I was so messed up right then. I just thought that I would get warned before I got fired. I was pretty convinced that would happen because that's all the stories I would hear. So I kept being me with the alcohol and pills and trying to hide it. So I was a mess. I wasn't ready to do that job. I wasn't ready for it. But I just was hoping that, not hoping, I knew that they would slap me on the wrist before I would get fired. And I was wrong. There was no slap. There was get out, and it was too late.
So before I pass it back over, they had that documentary, uh, "Who Killed WCW." In your eyes, what ultimately hurt WCW?
There's no doubt in my mind who killed WCW, and I didn't really understand how everybody couldn't see it my way when I watched it. But I can't remember the guy's name. But in there was a guy. If you watch the whole show, there was a guy at the WCW, no WWF. His name was like Leitner, or there's Brad Siegel was the president of TNT. This was another guy that when it came down and Eric had $64 million he was going to buy the WCW for. The reason why they took 6 million over 64 million is because there was a guy that said, I don't want WCW on Time Warner TV. And he was some kind of president. It wasn't Brad Siegel, it was another guy. But that, when I watched the show, that was 100% of the reason why and who killed WCW. That guy killed WCW because he's the one that said, I'd rather lose $58 million and not have wrestling on our show than to make 64 million and continue wrestling on Time Warner TV. It was somebody big on Time Warner that did not want wrestling on Time Warner television anymore. And if you watch the show back, that guy is who killed WCW.
I will definitely have to rewatch it.
Yeah, me too. Me too. But we see how that turned out. That failed miserably.
Miserably. Because it's all over Time Warner TV.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So.
And not near a good a show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Real quick,
Crazy.
real quick. I know. Part of that show, there was this. A lot of people were blaming the finger poke of doom. How did that actually come about?
That's so far out of my pay scale, man. It really
Okay.
was. I can tell you this is a little embarrassing for me to say. I've never seen that.
Oh,
I have
okay.
never seen. If you asked me for $1 million, who was in the match of the finger poke of doom, I I could guess, but I don't know. Kevin Nash and Hulk Hogan. Is that right?
Yep,
Okay. I've
that is
never
right.
seen. I've never seen that ever. I didn't see it live. I never saw it on TV, but I heard he pokes him, he falls, and he covers him. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep,
You
yep.
know that. again, all the rumblings, it was such a rumble through the building, what was going on, that I remember just not wanting to hear it. Like, I'm not getting paid for this. This isn't helping me. I got no control over this. So I just shut it off. And I remember that's how like me and Luger and Sting would do. We would just try to just get out of it, it ain't gonna help us at all. So we can't change it. So we just gotta listen and see what happens, But I never visually ever saw that match.
Yeah, because if you watch the documentary, I know there were some people that put a lot of blame on what killed WCW on that match, the finger poke of doom. So, I mean,
Yeah,
that's fair. I mean, I'm sure
it
there's a lot
is.
of people that wish they can put it out of their mind like like you and Sting and Luger did. So,
Right, right. It
go ahead, bro.
just it was. I think it's a lot more than just that. But I really believe when I watched the whole show of Who Killed WCW, I was so sure of who killed it when I watched it that I didn't even know why it was a show. Like, why wasn't it so and so killed WCW? Because when I watched it, that's what it was. It was just one cat's name. There was a Time Warner president or CEO that said, I don't want wrestling on our network. And that's what happened, and it was over. So that's who killed WCW when I watched it. Wasn't who killed WCW? Was that finger poke in there? Was it?
Yeah, it was in there.
I don't know.
That was in there, and there was also the people were also blaming Vince Russo as to who killed WCW. Time
Yeah.
Warner came up, and yeah, the finger poke of doom was definitely in there.
In Russo again, it was another crazy thing. He went to every one of us and told every one of us personally, one on one, that our problem at WCW was that um, we always let our promoter become a star, and that he was not going to do that. What he was going to do was never show his face on television. And within 2 weeks, he was the champion. It was
Yeah.
crazy. If you remember, he started where the Harris brothers, the Harris twins, he was the voice, and they did all the stuff for him. But then within 2 weeks, he had a bat in his hands and was the world heavyweight champion. So I don't know what happened to what he said to us, but he didn't do what he said, which was stay out of it, not be on TV, and instead he was one of the stars and made himself the biggest star, or tried to.
That's wild business. Wild business. And then you hear some of his takes these days. Like I think the guy has a screw loose personally, but that's just me.
I haven't heard anything lately, but yes, it definitely was a weird thing to hear him say what he thought the reason was, and then go dead against it.
Yeah, because I think I see it was the finger poke of doom. It was Time Warner taking over for Ted Turner. It was Vince Russo, and it was the fact that guys like uh, the Giant, aka Big Show, was now crossing up over, followed by Chris Jericho crossing over. And I think part of it was saying the start of the downfall for WCW was the fact that the Big Show and Chris Jericho were actually crossing over to the WWE/F, whereas before it was guys like Luger and Nash and Hall crossing from WWF to WCW. And now they got guys leaving WCW crossing back
Whoever
to the other
whoever
way.
could whoever could possibly put the same emphasis on Luger coming to us and Jericho going to them has lost their mind. Because Jericho was a middle of the card guy for us, bro. That's all. And I mean, I love Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho is one of the biggest wrestling stars in the world right now. But at that time, I remember going to Chris and going, "What are you doing? You're making 150, 170 grand right here." You know, it was the best movie he could have ever made. But to dare anybody to put the same emphasis on Luger coming to us and Jericho going to them, they're reaching because that's not even close to being the same.
I want to interject and say something. Then I'll let you continue before I go
No, no,
into
no.
my.
It's on you. Go ahead.
So I want to say this before I get into my next question. I want to say this. Nash was in WCW before he went to WWF. He was the
Oh yeah,
wizard. He was the wizard. The
he
wizard.
was the odds.
The Oz. That's what I meant to say. The Oz. He was he dressed that and Razor Ramon, aka Scott Hall, was in WCW before he went to WWF too. Before he was Razor Ramon, he was like,
So was the Undertaker.
"Yep,
And
under,
Stone Cold Steve Austin.
yep." Well,
Yes, Stunning
we all
Steve.
we already knew the Hollywood Blondes and Stunning Steve Austin. So we that one was a given. You know what I mean? I remember when he crossed over, but a lot of
Yeah,
people tend to forget that Nash and Scott, they were in WCW first before they called, because Scott Hall was with Diamond Dallas Page.
he was
He,
the Diamond Stud.
yep, yep. So I peeped that. I peeped that a while back. I was like, wait a minute. Like, these guys were this was it was vice versa. It was the opposite. They were already
No,
here and then they went over there. So yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Hey
So
guys, I've got Asheville, North Carolina tomorrow. So let's wrap it up when you guys are ready to wrap this thing up. What's your final questions?
okay, all right. So my final question for you is, like I told you, what I do outside of podcasting and graphic design and whatever, right? So I asked this question to my group today. So I asked them, the question was, if I was, let me say, 25 years sober, and all of a sudden, within that 25 years, I mess up somewhere in between, do I lose all my sobriety time?
um, I can tell you in the world of recovery, you're supposed to change your sobriety birthday. If I today at 3 years and 4 months sober, if I had a drink today, I would have to change my sobriety birthday till tomorrow. And that's kind of an integrity, do the right thing. You may get right back in the saddle again, but I've heard this is a pretty deep thing in AA.
Mm-hmm.
It just that it means something so much to be a year, 2 year, 3 year, 20 years sober. It means a lot. So it means enough that one drink does erase that. Now, does it mean you gotta go on another 20-year run? It means you have one drink and you go back to being sober again. But technically and personally, your sobriety birthday should change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the only reason why I asked that, because, like, in the book, it don't really say anything about, the changing of anything. Like, it don't, like, I've read through it. It doesn't really say anything. So I just was like, oh, I need to ask. I need to ask because,
And that,
but
that that's a good question. It's a real good question, and it's one that I'm not sure of.
mhm,
This is what I hear
mhm,
in meetings and like even the DUI court of Cobb County. If I'm in that program, I graduate in February, but I'm in that program, and if you if I was to have a positive test,
Mm-hmm.
a positive screen, then my sobriety birthday changes to them. So I mean, it's even a legal thing where they would legally make me, at least in their books. I don't have to change it if I don't want to, but in their books,
Mm-hmm.
my sobriety birthday is going to be different.
So do you think it's something that just, it's just something that was started amongst the people and not necessarily like
I do, because, but then again, if you're able to do that, then there's no, why would you worry about losing 25 years over a drink? I always have a drink and I can just keep my 25 years. Then I think it'd be a little easier to have that drink, but to know you're blowing 25 years on
mm-hmm,
that drink,
mm-hmm,
there's got to be some payment for that, and that's a good one to cost you. You just took 25 years and blew it.
mm-hmm.
And if you don't have it that way, then I think it'd be a little easier to have a relapse.
Good answer. That's all I want to know because I when I spoke to my group, I got different variations of answers. You know what I mean? And I even got the one
Mm.
that you just said. I even got that one. But
Mm.
I said I know I'm going to talk to him tonight. I need to ask him this question
It's
because
a great question. I've never been asked that question before, and it's a
yeah.
great question. But I do believe it's because if there was no punishment, then it would be a little bit easier to go. I'm just gonna have one. I'm gonna go out and just have a couple beers, and then I'll just act like I didn't, and then keep my 25 years. That ain't how it works, And
Yeah.
personally, it's got to be you're blowing it. You're blowing that 25 years by doing that. You
Hmm.
got to start over.
Yeah, I understand. I understand. That was it for me.
Real quick, oh, I got two questions. One is
Come
about what
on.
we're just talking about. What has the 3 years of sobriety meant to you and your family? Because your family's along with this on this journey with you. What has this meant to you and your family?
The best way I can say that, and I said it once just the other day, and I've never even thought about this until I said it. And then it was so powerful after I said it that I really believe this is the answer. So, everything that you just said, think about family and think about the years and 6 DUIs and money and lawyers and jail and just all of it, brother. 20 years of just sedated every day, and then what about the last 3 years and 4 months? And the best way I can say it is I have had the best 3 years and 4 months out of 55 years in my life, and I lost a leg. I lost a leg. So, I mean, if you can cut your leg off and get an amputated leg and still stand here and say that was the best 3 years of your life, show me where to sign up with sobriety. Show me. I want to try that. So it was that strong.
That's a that's a hell of a and a that's powerful. It
Hmm.
really is. To
I
say
never,
that
I didn't really think of it. I didn't really think of it until I mentioned it to a buddy of mine this having a hard time. When I typed it, I read it back and I went, man, that's powerful, bro. I mean, because I'm telling the truth. This has been the best 3 years and 4 months of my life, and the real answer is God, Stacy, and myself. In that order, I was able to put 3 years and 4 months together. But by putting those three things together, it was the best 3 years and 4 months of my life, and I lost a leg, and that's saying something.
along those lines, if you could say anything to anybody right now that is struggling with their sobriety, what would you tell them?
I would say I've had the best 3 years and 4 months in my life, and I lost a leg. Think about that. That's crazy to say. I've had the best 3 years of my life, and I got a leg amputated. I mean, I'm not kidding. That's what I would tell them. I would say, I'm telling you that sobriety has been so great to me, and my life has been so good, and I lost a leg. So why don't you try this? But I would actually tell them the other piece I kind of skimmed over. When you quit drinking, a lot of time gets handed to you. A lot. I mean, brother, so much time and energy goes into pilling and alcohol and drugging, and so much time, doctor's appointments and pharmacies, and making sure that the county's not dry that you're wrestling in, and having beer for the next morning. It's just a 24/7 crazy chase. And I would say to them that you've got to find something to put in place of that drink or that drug. And what I found, it don't mean it's what you need. I'm telling you what I did, that I put in that void of the drink and the drug, was God, Stacy, and my body. Those three things got me 3 years and 4 months. And it was the best 3 years and 4 months of my life. And I lost a leg. So I think it's the way to go. I can't even imagine trying to do this, juggling drinking and getting my pills and going to the appointments and juggling when I could get it filled and trying to get them filled soon, and you can't get them filled soon, and oh God, it was just so much, brother. It was such. I had two calendars of what pills I could get at what pharmacy, and you couldn't even do what I used to do. There's no way. The law, thank God, does not allow for what I did to happen again. I mean, it just don't happen. But in my day, they did allow it, and you could go to different pharmacies. And the way I did it, it was just an overlapping, crazy chase that never ended, and it was crazy. And to know that all of that now is gone, there's just freedom. And when you take away that from you and you get freedom and you add God with it, it's such a relief inside your body. And not to mention, at first, again, there's a lot of hours on your hands when you stop drinking. If you don't find something pretty quick, you're not going to make it. You got to find something that's going to take up that time. And I found God, Stacy, and me. And that's the three things I found that kept me busy enough to put 3 years and 4 months together.
And with that, I would like to do this for you
Thank you.
because it's a big deal. It really is a big deal.
I mean,
And
I have friends come up to me and they go, I mean, come on, man. I mean, 3 years, you're saying you really didn't have a beer? And I'm going, brother, not a sip. And they're like, oh, come on, man. I'm like, brother, I said, not a pill, not a sip, not a. I've had surgeries and stuff. So I had to have some pain medication, but pain medication wasn't my deal. Mine was muscle relaxers and stuff. So my girl handled the pills during my surgeries, and I just, paid attention to it. And it was a little sticky 3 years ago in the first surgeries, but it's been fine. And it's just, what do you really want in life? And I had really, God, life had gotten to be a struggle, and it took me. My rock bottom was ruining my right leg. Before amputation, in the 2020 car wreck under the influence, I ruined my leg, and for 5 years carried around a sick leg, and I hated it. I feel much better. I was looking in a full length mirror the other day. No, it wasn't the other day. It was about a month ago. And I'd taken my leg off to go to bed, and I was looking in a full length mirror. And it's the first time I've looked in a full length mirror that I felt good about Mark Bagwell again. I mean, like, because the sick leg was off. I'm standing there with no leg, and I felt better in the mirror with no leg than looking down at that sick leg. Because I was never going to wear shorts again. I was never going to let somebody see that leg. So now I rock my prosthetic leg all day long. I love it. I roll my pants up, let everybody look at it. I love it. But I was never going to let anybody see my sick leg. So I got a whole new life with this leg, and I love it.
Well, Mr. Bagwell, is there anything that you would like to plug in, talk about real quick that you want the fans to know?
Yeah, always. First, I want to say thanks to all my fans out there for just staying with me through all of this journey. And anytime, I always think about a cameo. I got to do cameos a lot of times. Cameo.com. It's a wonderful thing if you want to get a happy birthday to somebody or a Merry Christmas. I do a lot of cameos a lot of times, so reach out to me to get a cameo. And MarcusBuffBagwell.com is a good thing. You can get my action figures, and you can buy top hats and all that. And then also, Marcus Buff Bagwell at Gmail is my personal email address, and we're doing a little a buy two get one free action figures on my action figures right now. So you got two different action figures, but you can get two and get one free. So we're doing that right now, and that's really been well for me last couple of days. So um, but you can just go to my email address and Marcus Buff Bagwell at Gmail, and I'll send you whatever. And I mail them right out from here, and that includes shipping. So just check it out, man. Everything's going really good.
So, we always end our show with this one question. If you could see anybody on Ring Ropes and Turnbuckle podcast, who would it be? But Buff Bagwell has to help us get that person on the show.
Ooh. Well, in that case, Lex Luger.
You could help us get Lex Luger?
I could. I mean, he did a couple for me before, so I could ask him for sure.
I would. I said. I was
I
about to
was
say.
going to. I was going to say
We
The
would love
Rock.
that.
I was going to say The Rock, but I
Yeah,
can't get The
yeah,
Rock.
yeah. That guy's too
So
Hollywood for us right
yeah,
now.
he's too big, brother. But I could get Luger. I think Luger would do it.
We would greatly appreciate
Yeah,
that.
we would for sure.
And if you
We'll
don't
definitely.
mind, I don't know about my partner over here, but I would like to stay in touch with you just to see how you're doing and stuff like that.
Oh, you got my number, brother. I'm easy. I'm really easy. I keep a. You'll never dial or have that text. You'll never text that phone where you don't get a reply. That's what I do. So. And
Awesome,
with you,
awesome.
brother, let me know. Let me know next. Give it a little. I'm gone tomorrow, and then Sunday I'm church and all that. So, sometime next week, reach out to me, and we'll talk about. The best thing you can do though before we talk is just to go ahead and try to have a date squared away that you think a couple of dates you can think of that you would like to do the
Okay,
recovery speech on, and we'll go from
okay,
there. But give me a
okay,
call next week sometime.
okay. I definitely would do that. I definitely would do it for
Here's
sure.
those top hats.
Yeah,
I need
I,
one.
me too. Me too.
They're pretty cool, but they're not like the old school my top hat. But they do really well. But the high spots ones, they're like leather. They look really good. The face is on the top. But I like this because you can sign here. You
Yeah,
know.
yeah. I need one of them. I got your website pulled up right now, so
I enjoyed it, guys.
All right.
We really appreciate you coming on. We are huge fans as kids. Like I said, I remember I could close my eyes and see myself in the mirror, thinking I'm Buff Bagwell flexing in the mirror. So this has been huge for us.
For sure, for sure.
I thank you so much. And then next week, just you give me a shout about the recovery, and you give me a shout about Luger. We'll try to get you guys Luger hooked up.
All right,
Absolutely.
thank you, appreciate it. And
All right, guys.
with that being said, that was Buff with the stuff, Bagwell, and we'll be back with another one, Ring Ropes and Turnbuckle Podcast. Sayonara.
Yo, Robert Mason here, and the fire in this arena is unreal.
And I'm Molly Finwick. We are the Ring Ropes and Turnbuckle commentary team, bringing nonstop action. And that wraps up another explosive edition of the podcast. Join us next week as the road to the championship continues.
This is the Ring Ropes and Turnbuckle Podcast, your home for real pro wrestling talk.
Make sure you hit that subscribe button.
Yeah, we the champs. Thanks for listening. We gone.